Welcome back, everybody, to your favorite podcast where two guys do what they do and talk about triathlon. It's Talking Triathlon. I really need to sit down and actually give that some proper thought, Jimbo. James Bell is obviously my co-host, who you can see if you're on YouTube, or you can soon hear if you are listening to this podcast. Jimbo, what's going on, mate?
I like your ad hoc intros. It always leaves me wondering what's going to come out of you at the start of every episode. Yeah, not too bad. In fact, it's been a bit of a rough week. I've been a bit sick. I've had a bit of a stomach bug, but I'm climbing back out of that hole now, and I'm ready to record some podcasts, mate. Lots been happening in the world of triathlon, but we're not really going to talk about a huge amount about it this week because we've got a big interview, haven't we?
We have a huge interview. We've got again, one of our favorites, Daniel Bækkegård. You are going to be sitting down with him. I'm going to be on my way back to Australia, so I will not be part of the interview. But I'm very keen to hear you have that chat with Daniel. He's red hot, but we'll obviously drop that in a bit later. I have to be honest, James. I'm starting to understand why you Poms spend so much time talking about the weather, because it's
pretty grim, isn't it?
Fascinating, mate. It is fascinating the way the weather works in this goddamn country. I have seen 4 seasons in one day. The last couple of days, it's been an absolutely wild ride. But I got absolutely fucked by the rain yesterday in London, like horribly. Came out of the theater and it was like biblical tsunami like rain, and I had to go navigating the tube stations in the rain. Not a good time. Slippery. It's all steamy. There's 10,000 motherfuckers all already wet and unhappy too.
Yeah. I mean, look, the weather is a big topic over here because it can ruin or enhance your day to a level that nothing else in the UK can.
Yeah.
It's a stimulator, mate.
Oh, man. I've had a thoroughly British experience the last few days, to be honest. I got back we recorded in Paris last week. And then after Paris, I came up to the UK. I went to you guys call it a stag do, we call it a bucks party. And my very good friend is getting married in Australia, but I said to him when I saw the itinerary for this party, I said, mate, if you had to put together a collection of events that I hate, you have put them into one. It was golf, and then we watched a rugby match at a pub and walked like through the fucking forest, and then did some bullshit camping, and then did mountain bike. And it started raining, and the mountain bike. I'm beside, this is just the best. This is so good. But yeah, look, that is not what people here to talk about.
Hold.
Oh, okay.
How are you at golf?
Acceptable.
Have you played it before?
When I was younger, I played a lot of golf, and I've never been good at golf. I can't hit the ball straight. I can, that's a lie. I can hit all the irons straight, but every single wood, it just good. So much so now that if the hole is straight in front of me, I aim about, I don't know, 25 degrees to the left, knowing that my ball is just going to fade or go, and even then it goes to the right. So I could basically face 90 degrees to the hole, and I would probably still hit it up the middle of the fairway.
Fair enough.
I have no patience.
It wasn't like a let's teach Tim how to play golf moment.
No. I can hit it a really long way. Just, I think after 16 holes, I said, like, I'm going to the clubhouse. I'm done with this. I just stormed off. I had a little tantrum, convinced them all that we should go have beers instead. It was a bucks party. But this podcast is about triathlon. We have to say thank you everybody who signed up for our Patreon last week. We've had literally like 3 times the number of subscribers in the last week. We did that bonus show last week where we gave our true thoughts around the IronMan World Championships in Nice. Again, really means the world that you support. If you want to
absolute influx, love it, don't we? We love it because we're getting more people in the community. It's not just about people getting to listen to the bonus show, but you're dumping more people in the WhatsApp group. You know, there are people joining the Facebook group. It's amazing to see, and it's nice to be able to talk to people and have a bit of a communication outside of just this medium.
I think also it's certainly fueling us to come up with more ideas to do extra content and stuff. Like, it's very motivating when you know that people actually want to hear it and want the stuff. So we are coming up we're cooking up some ideas, Jimbo. That'll be good. But if you want to do that, head to patreon.com/talking triathlon. That's where you can do it. James, you are going to sit down with Daniel Bækkegård. We might drop the interview in and we'll have a bit of a chat about him afterwards.
And yeah, like we just said, and like Tim and I just passed to, I'm joined this week by Daniel Bækkegård, the number 13 PTO ranked triathlete of 2023. Daniel, how are you, mate?
I'm very good. Thanks a lot, James. Yeah, I think 13 might be my lucky number going forward. I'm glad to be on the podcast again.
Yeah, it's good to have you on, man. It's been a while. It must have been a few years, since we had you on last.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, nothing big have happened the last few years, so I'm just glad I can see you again.
So I can't see you because your camera has broken. So we've probably edited in a quality photo of you at this point. So I'm talking to that. So tell me, where in the world are you at the moment, mate?
Right now I'm home in Odense. Yeah, basically just trying to pack up some of my stuff, and yeah, I should be getting ready for some late races in the season, but right now I'm stuck with a bit of sickness. So it's like I feel kind of useless, to be honest. At the moment, it's not great. But then again, neither is the weather here in Denmark. So I'm just chilling a little bit.
Okay. So because you rolled out of the PTO Asian Open, you came sixth in that race. I know that you were one of the contingent that had some stomach issues after the race, possibly COVID, was it as well?
Yeah, that was I had the whole plate. I think I dragged everything back home to Europe with me as I could get, and also resulted in a DNS at the World Championships. So that was kind of not how I imagined my championship season should end, but that's
And
life.
how are you feeling now? You say you're still struggling with illness a little bit. Is it affecting you day to day?
Yeah, basically I can't. Like I'm training. Obviously, I wanted to start training like a couple of weeks ago, but it just continues being like 1 or 2 days of training, and then I get sick for 4 to 7 days afterwards. So yeah, it's not a great situation to be in right now. Also, it's just kind of the uncertainty as well. The fact that I don't really know what it is and what to do about it. So right now I'm undergoing kind of the whole battery of tests we can do to figure out what it is, and then we'll see what the plan says.
Yeah, because basically end of season races are probably just hinging on that information when you get it.
Yeah, exactly. I would love. Right now, I have plans of going to Australia. I just wanted, end the season on just a positive note and enjoy some time in good weather. And I've always heard Australia is like one of the best places in the world. I've always wanted to go, and I wanted to give my mom also a trip to Australia for her also to experience it. So obviously, I hope that it's not bad, and I can continue or get on with training, so we can have a nice trip together. But obviously, health comes first. So yeah, it's just kind of annoying. It's the uncertainty. I'm not really functioning well when I don't know what to do. Like if I knew I was sick, or if I knew I had some virus or whatever, it would be kind of nice actually, because then I could just say, okay, then I'll take 2 weeks on a sunbed somewhere in Southern Europe or wherever, and then I kind of just knew what to do. But right now I'm just sitting in my couch all day playing FIFA or Warzone, and it is fun to play PlayStation, but not when you can't train. Then that's not really
No, it's
what
not good for your
I'd
mental
like to
health,
do.
that is it, mate?
Nah, not really.
No. So you're finding yourself a bit restless, not being able to do what you'd normally do. How are you spending your time? And are you just eating all the donuts?
Actually, the problem is I don't really have any like hunger or whatever it's called. I don't really eat a lot, so that is both good and bad, because I'm the type of guy who I only have to look at a donut and then I'll gain like 4 kilos. So it's probably a good thing I'm not getting too much of that stuff in. But yeah, I have a couple of very good friends who are keeping me busy and just making me enjoy life here in Odense a little bit. I really appreciate that. So went to a concert and had just some good time. That's it's been a like not only bad couple of weeks, some fun stuff have happened as well.
Well, I hope you find the answers to the questions of what quite it is that's dogging you there, mate. Now, you talk about your season. You've had a 6th place in the Asian Open, 6th place in the US Open, 4th in Challenge Roth, 7th in the PTO European Open, 5th at Ironman Lanzarote, and your one podium of the year was 3rd in Clash Miami. How, looking at your season, how do you feel about it this year so far?
Consistency is probably the word you could use. To be honest, it's kind of a flat feeling I have after a season like that. It's not like it's not really what I wished for. It is nice, obviously, to have some consistency in the results, but I also see like I haven't really progressed the way I wanted to. I think obviously my season goals have been the PTO races, the Challenge Roth and the Ironman World Championships in Nice. I think Challenge Roth was by far the best race I've had in my career in terms of feeling, especially on the bike and on the run. But some fuck ups there led to a 12-minute loss in terms of a mechanic issue. So that's just the race out the door. And it was, that mentally that took a bit out of me, because I knew I was in great shape, and I'd really enjoyed the lead up to the race. That's where I felt like we ticked all the boxes, and I actually felt ready and eager to race.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of the races have just been impacted of those small annoying kind of either mistakes, or sometimes it's just been too many travel days, some stress outside of in normal life, or whatever you could call it, which have just led to not really performing great, but just performing well.
Yeah.
And I a couple of years ago you could probably get by doing races like that, but right now you just see the level of racing have just increased that much. So I'm not the type of person who can pull out a win with that kind of preparation to races like that. So all in all, like an okay season, but not really. It's not like I've had that big podium where I was just stoked to be racing my best. And obviously that's what I kind of I'm hungry for. It is the kind of feeling you want to have.
No, indeed. I mean, like you say, Challenge Roth, if that's a race that you feel you really were ready for and you got the best out of you for on the day, but you were let down by a mechanical, that's a hellish disappointing thing to happen, eh?
Yeah, it's kind of tough. Also because the race was just awesome in itself. I've obviously the race Magnus did, that was just I don't think you could really understand it if you weren't there. And it would just be cool to kind of race. I see him as probably the best, certainly one of the best Ironman athletes in the world. also, oh, just a sec. Excuse me. Yeah, I definitely see Magnus as one of the best Ironman athletes, full distance athletes in the world, and just to be able to kind of race against him on a level, that would be it would just be cool to kind of have that race and have that battle.
What do you think you need to do as an athlete to reach that level? Are you at that level, but events around you just transpired to mean that you haven't been able to race to at that point, very pointy end of the races? I mean, your last win was at 70.3 Elsinore in June 2022. Since then, there've been a smattering of podiums, but lots of 6th places, 4th places, 5th places, 7th places. What are you trying to do to raise your game? This illness aside, what is it do you think you need to do to your strategy as a triathlete?
I think a lot of it's difficult to answer just like it's a very complex question, because I think we are in a time right now where we don't really know what's happening. Like the game in middle and long distance triathlon is just, the game is just raised, like the level is so high right now, and it's only getting higher. So I think one mistake I've probably done is not I think we've had a plan of like trying to, we wanted to do it all, and right now it's not possible to like to get better in every aspect of the game. You have to focus sometimes on a certain discipline or a certain type of training to get better. You need longer time on training camps and stuff to actually like really work on your strengths and your weaknesses. And I've just wanted, I've wanted to race here and there, and I've wanted to, there's been a bit of it's difficult to kind of describe, but like not being able to kind of stick to a proper plan and just thrown in races just because it would be fun to race it, and not really because there's any reason to race it, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And I think for me it's pretty difficult to like, obviously we can race year round if that's what we wish, but you also need like longer periods of time where you can just be on training camp, or you can really work your ass off to be there when it matters. And I think right now, as how you like, the level of triathlon right now is so high that you need, if you want to perform at the PTO events at 100%, or if you want to perform at Ironman Nice World Championships at 100%, you also have to choose. You can't just do it all. Then you'll definitely not be on the start line at 100%. And the results always comes out of like, the best prepared will probably win. So it is about just preparing for the big events. Then you'll also do better there, that instead of just preparing for racing all year round, basically.
Does that mean that we're going to see a slightly different approach to your season next year?
Yeah, I think I remember Bjørn Geesmann, coach of Patrick Lang and Cat Matthews. He said to me like, the most that was in like I think 2021 or so, that he thought it was pretty impressive, the fact that he didn't see me race a lot, but when I raced, it was I was on it. And I think that's something I've kind of I was good at back then, but I kind of lost because I wanted to race a bit more. I wanted to learn how to race, and I wanted to,
And
just get better
there were no
the racing.
PTO Opens that in 2021 either, were there? So you had,
Exactly.
less races to choose from. But like you say, 2021 was a stunning year for you. You had 5 races, 2 wins, 3 third places. So it was all podiums and victories that year.
Yeah, and that was because I came to the races prepared, I think. And here it's just been too much of you have to shut down the fire, or I had to kind of compromise in preparations in some ways. And that's just an area where me and my coach and my team have to get better at prioritizing.
So how are you going to change that? Because 2021, like I said, it was a year of 5 races. Every race was a podium. 2 of them were victories. 2023 was a year of 6 races, 1 podium, and the rest were all top 10s. It's one more race. So
yeah,
how do you refocus this? What is the strategy? Obviously the amount of races in the season isn't the whole story, but what is the refocusing and the changing?
First and foremost, you can look at the races from 21, and the start lists at the races have obviously not been the caliber as it is in 23, and we can thank PTO or the PTO Tour for that. So it's not that I was at a higher level in 2021. The guys I'm racing is just like the start list is basically just better in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
And then so you can also look at it in another way and say, like, it's easy to just say the season have been bad looking at the results list, but it's guys like Christian Blumenfeld and Magnus Ditlev and all the other guys I've raced against, and if you see, I think Magnus, he probably raced 3 times this year, and it's been very, very good results all 3 times. That's also an approach to do. So it's just management of when to race, when to just plan it out, basically a bit more thorough of what times of the year we need what, and plan it a bit more in details, which have also been kind of tough this year, because it's if you race a race like Challenge Roth, I'm still kind of new to the game, so if I do a mid-season Ironman or full distance, I don't really know how that will affect me. It can be that I'm flying afterwards, or you can come out of the Ironman being completely exhausted and needing a lot of time to rest. So what do I actually want to get out of this season? Do I want to risk it and race Roth, and then maybe my preparations towards the PTO, the races in the PTO Tour, or whatever will come up, how will that impact it? So that's what I meant in the beginning. Like it's a very complex question that takes a whole lot of planning, a whole lot of evaluation of how we've managed so far. If you look at my stats, I've not been that good at racing back to back. That's certainly something I have to work on if I want to do good at the PTO Tour, because I'm pretty sure there will be races pretty close to each other. I don't know the race calendar so far, but it's definitely something I could imagine with the amount of races they want to put in.
Do you think we're getting a bit of an embarrassment of riches? Do you think that with the addition of the PTO Tour to the existing calendar, do you think athletes have got too much choice, or maybe too much expectation through a season, and you need to be a bit more surgical?
I think it needs to be a bit more surgical, definitely. it's difficult because I'm like, I want to race everything. I think it's so cool to be able to, I'm living my dream right now, and I can, as I said, I can go to Australia and race, and I can go to wherever in the world I want to race. But you also have to be, if you want to do well at the races, if you want to win the races, you also have to be very specific and choose, be careful what kind of races you choose. And I think that's the most important thing we have to learn as professionals, because otherwise you can be overwhelmed physically and mentally of all the options you actually have to race. And then also, like, there's the whole mental part about it. If you only race where the best in the world are, then it's difficult to get that kind of success. There's nobody who've won twice won a PTO event twice in 1 year, I guess. Or probably there's, for the ladies there's, but not for the men. So it's difficult to kind of just get that kind of success feeling that you also need as an athlete. Sometimes you can dig yourself into a hole where it just seems like you're not good enough, and a way to kind of get yourself out of that hole is by racing smaller events where you can probably win it. And that whole mental part of racing is something athletes shouldn't shy away from, because it's a very normal thing in other sports as well. The problem here is, if you race all the PTO events, then what kind of smaller events would you go to? There's only so many weeks in a calendar. So the whole it's a lot to grasp, and the whole season is difficult to plan.
So do you think it's from an athlete's perspective, is it good for the sport as an athlete to have this many options and this many races on the table? But also, I think the reverse of that, once you've thought about that, the reverse of that, do you think it's good for the sport in general from a spectator's point of view, and trying to grow the sport into a broadcast entity and something that has a huge following?
I think as an athlete, I think actually for everybody, it's a great thing. We just have to learn how to manage it, because you see, just like 5 or 10 years ago, it was not even like 10% of what is going on today in terms of races, level at races, professional athletes coming up doing middle and long distance. I think we need that amount of races to actually being able to function as a professional sport. We just have to learn how to cope with all the races and to get the most out of it. It's obviously, I can see why it could be difficult to kind of communicate the sport to a broad audience when we have that many races and we have that many world championships and so forth going on. People can be confused easily, and it will only be a matter of obviously families to professional athletes or very hardcore fans of the sport to understand what's actually going on, and really look at performances and judge performances. Side note, I think that's where the world rankings and the point system have struggled a bit, because people have not been able to look at it from a nuance, what's actually going on at races. But I think we need, obviously the PTO event, people will get contracts, and that's probably gonna be kind of high profile races. But you see with the magnitude of athletes coming forward from all over the world. We need more races to kind of get that whole talent racing against each other, and hopefully getting the whole the whole level of professional triathlon stepping up.
Yeah, I mean, certainly when it comes to the PTO, that has increased the calendar somewhat, and they're looking to expand that as they go. What do you think of what the PTO are doing, and how much you say that it's raised the game, which it certainly has, in terms of making those start lifts more competitive? But from an athlete's perspective, I know you didn't race Nice this year because you got ill. If you had been able to race Nice, where would the importance lie for an athlete for you? Have the PTO events caught up with the significance of that, of winning Nice, let's say?
I think that's where I can probably get into trouble.
Let's get into trouble, Daniel. Let's get into trouble, mate. I'll come with you.
I think it's a difficult, obviously you have tradition. You have Kona, you have the World Championships from Ironman, and I think no matter what, that will always have a very huge place in all athletes' heart.
Yeah.
Because obviously Kona was the first thing I knew about when it came to triathlon, and I think that's where a whole lot of athletes, especially also professional athletes, meet triathlon for the first time. So obviously everybody want to win Kona. What I was afraid of was the fact that when Ironman started to change, that the World Championship, Ironman World Championship, would be kind of a not as important race to actually win. But for the first time, I was sitting on the sideline looking in, and I was like, I think that race was one of the most exciting races I've seen and I've followed ever in middle and long course triathlon. I think that course have everything, and also obviously Nice have a huge rich history in terms of the ITU ITU World Championships in long course. So they've had athletes racing there before. It's not completely out of without any history at all. And I think that also makes it a big impact. With that said, I think with PTO partnering up with World Triathlon, I think that have potential to change the sport completely to the better. And I hope that will be I've had a lot of time the last months to look at Netflix, and I've seen the full swing about golf on Netflix, and I think that's pretty cool. Where they have the events who have the rich history, like we have Hawaii and we also have Nice, but also kind of the new inventions. New courses, new tournaments, and so on, where we have the PTO, and I hope that we can kind of have both and make both work in terms of getting a broader following, a better broadcast, obviously also more attention into the sport, but it takes everybody to work together. And I think that's where we're struggling right now, because egos are playing into the equation right now.
Yeah, agreed. You said that Nice was one of the most exciting races you've seen. Do you think that's because? Do you think that's applicable and possible in a location like Kona? Because I mean, the IronMan World Championships carries a lot of weight when it comes to sponsorships, and like you say, from people's previous knowledge of the sport, they grow up watching Kona. But in reality, that course doesn't create much exciting racing. So
but what did you think about the women's races racing last year?
True.
I think that was on the league, like the level of the men's in Nice this year.
Yeah, it's true. It is. So the field can make it competitive.
But I think the difficult part in the men's field right now is the fact that the level, the difference in, like, we were such a big group coming out of the water in Hawaii, and then it's difficult to make any exciting racing out of that. Where in Nice, all of a sudden, it was a complete explosion.
It's true, but also in a place like Kona, it's much more difficult to get to. So you don't get those sort of crowds coming in. You don't get somewhere like Nice. People can get to it easy. You know, it's easily accessible through the entirety of Europe. People are getting their sponsors can get there, whether they did or not this year. You know, I think it was a bit of a tester. But what's your thoughts on the Ironman World Championship moving around, having seen the race in Nice as it was this year?
Oh, just you, the connection just disappeared there.
I said, what's your thoughts on the Ironman World Championship moving around, having seen it in Nice this year?
Like in general, I think it's been great. I think it was fun to race in St. George as well, because I think there's a certain excitement about like the fact that we don't know how the course would be written or how it would be won. I think it's probably going to be a bit boring if it's going to stay in Hawaii for the rest of the history of Ironman. Because in somewhere, like there's only so much of a difference you can make on a course, and I think we just need different. We need different venues to make it fun to watch, and I think in also fun to race.
Agreed.
But I also find it, you always juggle between you want to have a fun race where it's people want to watch it and all that stuff, but everybody want to win Kona, obviously, because of the history of Kona. And I'm not sure if there will be the same, like you will not be the same kind of legend winning another world championship compared to winning Kona. Because like right now, I just said it, like you will not, winning Kona is winning Kona. Like that's more than just the world championships in some way.
Do you think that could still be a big race in the year while they rotate those world championships around, where the Kona Ironman is still the Kona Ironman, a race of extreme significance, much like Challenge Roth is?
Yeah, it could be.
So what was it about Nice? What were you going to say?
I was just saying it's difficult. It's very difficult to predict, I think. Because it is like you also, obviously you want to sell the sport, you want to have broadcasters, you want to have a great like example of what triathlon can do and what triathlon can provide. And I think Nice really showed that.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I was about to say, what was it about Nice that excited you so much?
Like the pictures there, I think the broadcast team, for the first time, they did an excellent job. It was not only excellent, it was like, I think it was the best production we've seen so far. It was so impressive. So huge kudos to Ironman for getting that broadcast to Nice. I think I also heard somewhere they hired the guys who are doing, what was it, Tour de France and all that. Maybe that was just a rumor, but I think that it was, fantastic. And that's just something that impacts not only professional athletes, but also age groupers, obviously. I heard a lot of age groupers wouldn't go to Nice World Championships because they could race it in June, was it? For like half the price. And obviously that's a problem. That people don't see that may be the only difference between Nice or another destination compared to Kona.
Yeah, I can see that, and we discussed that on the podcast at the time when people were saying, "Oh, I can race it a few months earlier for half the price." To me, if you're inclined to race a world championship, which personally I'm not, because it's just that kind of racing's not for me. Then the idea of racing a world championship, qualifying for it, and racing it comes at a premium. And I didn't see that argument as one that particularly held water, but I can see what people are saying, and
Yeah.
I respect that perspective, definitely. What did you think of the racing at Nice? What we saw on the course?
Oh, magnificent. I've never seen an Ironman from start to end before Ironman Nice or Ironman World Championships this year.
It was ripped to fuck, that field of bikes, wasn't it?
It was amazing. Like we went there in June, the Canyon team to do recon on the course, and people were talking so much about the downhill and all that stuff, and we were looking at each other like, obviously you can make some time difference on the downhill, but that's not at all where the big time difference would happen. And it was cool to see actually all the segments we kind of we discussed when we were riding it. That was also where Sam excelled and really put time into, especially Magnus and the other guys. So that's just a testament of strong riding and pacing from Sam. But also it was, I felt very bad for especially Bradley Weiss.
Yeah,
to hear about his penalty. I've also tried that before, and it's just obviously I couldn't judge it, and I don't think anybody could judge it from watching the screen. And you should also be careful judging it from the motos, because you never really get the right angle on the television. But it's just it was his day, kind of. You could see it, like he was at the perfect place for, he can also run a fast marathon afterwards, and he's just a good guy. Like I'd really see him do well. I'd love to see that. So obviously that was a bummer, but it was cool to see so many guys kind of riding through the field. The fact that you didn't you didn't see that kind of 12-man group reaching T2 together, or the fact that if you lose 3 minutes on the swim, then you're out the back door. You're not a part of the race anymore. I think that's a great way of having a World Championships, because then it's just the strongest who will win. And you saw that with Leon Chevalier, for example, and other guys like that. I missed Joe Skipper a little bit.
Yeah,
I don't really know what happened there, but I actually thought he would be a guy who would be a contention for a top 5 or so, especially on a course like that. That's the beauty, and the beautiful thing about racing a World Championship. You never know what's going to happen. You can't predict anything 100% before. You saw it with Jan. Somebody can have a minor injury, or small things can happen in the lead up that will impact the race, and both good and bad.
Yeah, it was chaos on the road, wasn't it? I mean, to me, it reminded me of a bike race when someone's off the front just ripping it to shit, and everyone behind is just strung out and doing the best they very can to hold on.
And I bet 90% of all people were saying or I was actually saying also, I thought Patrick Lang would win it.
A lot of people
I know
were.
it sounds crazy to say, but the fact that coming off the bike 11 minutes or so behind, it's insane to say that guy can actually win this race. Obviously, because we know Sam have had a couple of issues during this season, with gut health and so on, and Patrick can always run, which also sounds insane, but between 2:30 and 2:32.
He's quick, isn't he, that boy?
It's insane. It's insane.
Yeah,
also,
I mean,
like,
for me going into T2, Sam had it, but it was all about whether he was robust enough to hold it.
Exactly. And it's impressive he could hold it together. And you also saw it was the two guys who did not really, like, there was no change of form until very, very late in the race between Sam and Patrick. You could see Patrick until I think the last turnaround out of the airport. He started the technique started to drop a little bit, but it was like minor. It was minor stuff you saw, and Sam was basically the same. And that's just key in an Ironman race. The fact that the technique don't drop. Maybe you run a little bit slower, but it's more like muscular fatigue. It's not because you start to crumble. And that was just, I think that's the beauty of Ironman racing. The last 10 kilometers, if you could hold it together and still like keep moving forward. And that's, especially watching Patrick run, that's what I really take away. That kind of ease he have in his technique, and it just looks beautiful when he's running.
Yeah, it really does.
That's so good to see.
What's your take on the winner? His first Ironman victory at a world championship.
It's insane. It's insane. Yeah, I have no clue. Like, obviously we were chatting a bit in Singapore, and I thought he was out of the game. Especially when I then had the experience I had with COVID afterwards. I knew he also had COVID. I thought he wouldn't even make it to T2. Maybe the difference there was the fact that he did not race Singapore. He only basically swam. So maybe that kind of stress did not really affect his body and his sickness. But other than that, it was just insane to see. There's not a lot to it. Like, kudos for his bike ride. I think he just left it all out there. That's it was basically wire to wire, wasn't it?
It was. I mean, it was a very dominating performance. He was leaving some very strong bikers in his wake going up that hill, and then putting distance into people across the top. It was something to see.
But I think one part that is very unique about the niche course is the fact that I saw firsthand how much time you can make in easy speed if you just have the balls to put power in the right places. And that's one thing Sam is just very good at honing, knowing when to put power down and don't touch the brakes. Obviously that was about to go wrong one time, but he's so good at just reading the course, reading the lines, and Nice is a course where you can gain so much time and just being in the error bars as much as possible and taking those corners with ease and in the perfect way. And I think that's a huge difference. He and also the upper hand he have compared to his competitors, the technical skills.
And so do you think we're going to see that sort of domination that he brought to Nice? Will that translate over to Kona next year?
Well, they have a pretty good track record with only being good once a year. So that might be it could be that the World Championships is just his race, and that's where the rest of the season can kind of just doesn't really matter to him. Or whatever it is, I don't know. But I think he will always be a contender for the big races. That's no doubt.
What about you, mate? Rolling into 2024, what is going to be your opening race, and where do you see your? I know that you're talking about changing your season around and being a bit more surgical about it, but where do you see your emphasis next year?
I would love to race the PTO races first of all. I think, as I said, they bring something fresh, and all in all, just a good like setup for racing. It's a professional environment, and I love going to their races. So I would really like to race there. And if you say yes to that, you don't really have a lot of other races you can do. I think the best experience I've ever had at a race in terms of basically everything from race day itself, but also lead up and community. That's Challenge Roth. That was like people said I had to prepare for something big there, and I thought I did, and it was a million times better than what I ever expected. So I would love to go back and race Roth next year. We'll see if it can happen. But I think I also have some. I really want to go back and have a good race there. And then obviously Kona. That's kind of obviously that's still a big thing for me, as it is for everybody else, I guess. So that's we still have a late 7.3 World Championships, but you never know. Like it's late in the season, and if the season starts in March or April with the PTO events, then it's a long time to get until December being sharp. And it's a trend. We have to transform from being, or you can make a decision. You could put it this way: you can make a decision and be like Sam, be good at once a year, and that will also pay your bills for the rest of your life. But I would really like to race well the other races as well, and be in contention for the victory at those races. So that's something I just have to learn how to deal with, being at the highest possible level at those races, and still like be in contention at the World Championships in December.
So you say that Roth was one of the best experiences you've had in terms of community and event and vibe. How does that compare to the PTO races so far? What's the vibe like in those events, and how well are you looked after?
Like in terms of how well I'm looked after, I think it's a pretty good setup they have, and that's also why I want to race it, because there's not a lot of disturbances around the races. It's we're treated like professionals, and I feel like they really appreciate us being there. I see the ideas Sam has about the races renewed, and the whole idea behind PTO as well. I 100% buy into that. I think we can make something great happen here if all professional athletes get their shit together and work together. We are basically the driving factors in this. Obviously, there's it will not be perfect the first couple of years. I don't think any organization have had that luck in professional sport, but I think the potential is there, and obviously it does not have the same kind of prestige as Roth or Kona have right now. But I think we'll get into a new kind of era where the new generation of middle distance and long distance athletes actually prefer racing against each other multiple times a year instead of only twice a year or once a year.
Yeah.
And I think that's, if we start from there, then we can build on like making the sport bigger and having a bigger mass of talent coming up and all that stuff that we just want. I think that's the biggest privilege or the biggest responsibility we have as professional athletes. That is to give the new generation and the young people coming up after us, giving them a solid platform so they can shine. And we do that by making stuff happen with the PTO, for example.
So if we're looking at your next year, PTO events, Challenge Roth, World Championships, what do you consider a success?
That's a difficult question to answer.
PTO World Champion, Roth Champion, World Champion.
Obviously.
Nothing less.
Nothing less. But I'm also realistic. So I think actually it's not, that's probably one of the problems I had beforehand, the fact that all my goals were just in terms of results. And not as much like the process behind it, and that's a huge thing for me for the 2024 and also going forward, to kind of first of all trust the process, but also love the process of getting being a better athlete and race better and being a better person in general. And I think if I can do that, if I can get better at those points, then the results will definitely come, and then it will also be a success in terms of a season as well. But obviously, I'll never toe a start line not gunning for the victory. So I know when I'm there, I'm always there to win it.
That's why we like you so much, mate.
And I think I'm not afraid to say it either, and that's where you probably sometimes get a bit some people also hit the DMs sometimes with very encouraging messages, and I take it all.
Well, we love your content that you put out as well. You put out a very high level of content. Anyone that's listening and wants to go and follow you or look for you, where can they find you online?
Yeah, this year, a small story. I went to a press conference with the PTO, and the other guys, they were presented with the amounts of victories and so on they had, and I was presented as a YouTube phenomenon. So I guess you guys should all head into my YouTube channel, Daniel Bækkegård. Follow the channel, give a thumbs up and all that stuff. I started the YouTube channel with one of my best mates, and I do it for you, to be honest. I think it's also you, James, especially. No, because I just want to, I want to grow the sport. I want to show to people the sport I love and what I do for a living. Because all of us are like, my grandma don't really know what I spent my time doing. So I wanted to show basically everyone who's questioning it sometimes. Also, I get to do some fun stuff once in a while. So basically YouTube or Instagram. That's where I spend my time.
High quality stuff. I recommend everybody heads over there and checks it out.
He's not cheap either, so
no, I bet it's not. Just when are you going to invite me and Tim on there for a chat?
Oh, we can make that happen for sure.
Oh, you never know. All right, mate. Well, look, it's been an absolute pleasure, and from everybody here at Talking Triathlon Towers, mate, we hope you recover soon and hope to see you back on the race course ASAP.
Yeah, thanks a lot, mate, and thanks for the invitation. Tim did a great job.
Oh, it's an open invitation. I heard he did. It's an open invitation, mate. You're welcome anytime. You just hit us up. Just turn up. We'll be here.
Thanks a lot.
And we're back. How was it?
Very, very good. Very good. Future me did an amazing job. Daniel Bækkegård, I mean, an incredible triathlete and someone that I've got a huge amount of time and respect for, someone I like as well as a person a lot. He's good fun and he's a good chat. He's also very good at presentation, isn't he? You know, he's got the content thing nailed down. He's a slick looking motherfucker. He just hasn't quite had the results of late that go along with the sort of talent we both know he has. So that is the kind of thing we delve down. But I mean, we probably went off down many rabbit holes.
The whole point, that's the good thing with this new format, right? Is that it's not structured. It's just a chat around the sport, and rather than the person himself. I'm so fascinated to hear his thoughts, because you're right. Like Daniel literally stormed onto the long course, like stomped onto the long course, I guess you could say, with that iconic finish in Austria. I think it was 2018.
Everyone lost their shit, didn't they?
Yeah, but like, you're right. Daniel is one of my favorite athletes. I think I've told you, but like, I drunkenly was like accosted him a little bit in Singapore after the race, and I'm just like, seriously, Daniel, mate, like, you're a star, mate. Like, you've got, as you said, he's got the results. He's so professional. You know, like he's a guy that I think that we haven't seen what he's truly capable of, because he's an athlete that any start list he's on, he's a threat. And we've seen this year, he's always just short of sort of being where I think he belongs. But once he works it out, I think Daniel is one of the most talented athletes in the sport at the moment, and a guy that I would not be surprised or would expect to see winning world titles one day. I really hold him at such a high regard. So
without
I'm keen to
question,
hear it, mate.
Without question, yeah. And it's I'm quite sure I enjoyed that conversation. Whether he did or not, we yet to find out. But I did.
I genuinely am upset. Like, I think when you were telling me you're doing it this week, because I spoke to Daniel in Singapore and said, look, you know, we want to get you on the show. We do it this new way. It's not an interview. It's just a chat about triathlon, not even about you necessarily. And he's like, yeah, I'm keen for it. And then when you said I was like, fuck, I actually really like that's one of the one, because we're sort of trying to do them individually a bit now. But I'm thinking, no, that's one I'd like to be part of. But yeah, I'm it's good because I actually get to listen. Like, I suppose, not that I never really want to listen to my own podcast, but it's good that I can listen to this chat with Daniel. It'll be good. But yeah, I'll be when this happens, or when that happened. Yeah, I'll be on a plane to Australia.
Yeah, you're flying out today, aren't you?
Correct. That's right.
Yeah. And then you're meant to be flying home and heading out to Malibu. But I hear there's a bit of a problem with Malibu, mate. I hear that there's been some flooding. Some little fishies have made a home where the triathlon should be, and they were going to try and put some temporary bridges over, but the little fishies prevent that. And then they put a permit application in for a change of route, but because it's meant to be done with 31 days notice, that got denied. So now they're putting an appeal in, and the people at Malibu Permit
City Council
said the city recognizes the benefits of the Malibu Triathlon's charitable fundraising efforts. However, the city must adhere to its own codes and policies, which are in place to ensure the safety of the community and event participants and spectators. What's going to happen, mate? You're on the inside. You're the man with the know on this. What's going to happen? Are they going to sort it out? Are you going to sort it out?
I'd love it if they tell me, because again, I'm not particularly keen on packing my bags and jumping on another flight after having flown from Australia to then find out that the thing's not happening. Yeah, look, I don't know much. I've just seen the communication. I mean, I've heard whispers that it might get postponed, that it's probably unlikely that the actual, because again, like, the Super League Triathlon is attached to Malibu Triathlon, which is a huge, 5,000 person mass participation event. Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll find out, but they don't make a decision until Tuesday. And I know a lot of the pros are planning on flying out before then. So it's a bit of it could be a bit of a disaster, right? If you suddenly have all these people who fly from Pontevedra for the, because we got the grand final this weekend, and then they get there and it's like, nope, come back in 3 weeks or 4 weeks, whenever we've postponed it to.
Yeah, and then it's a case of who's paying for that. If you're an athlete and you're saying, look, I've got a flight scheduled, and Super League was covering the bill, and then you get there and it's delayed and you have to fly out and fly back again. Who's covering the cost of your travel? They're going to be knocking at Super League's door, and Super League going to be like, well, this is out of our hand. So
yeah, be interesting. But yeah, so again, it wouldn't be Super League without a little bit of extra drama, right? Like
no, it wouldn't. No, absolutely.
Yeah, that we'll record a day early next week. because I'm flying on Thursday. So we have plenty to talk about. But if Jimbo, if people want to find out more about Talking Triathlon, what do they need to do?
Yeah, thanks for listening to Talking Triathlon. If you want to support the show, jump onto patreon.com/talking triathlon. If you want to follow Tim, he's at tford14 on Instagram, and I'm at bale.james85 on Instagram. Find us across all social networks at Talking Triathlon on Instagram, at Talk Triathlon on Twitter. And if you join the Patreon group, we'll add you to the Facebook group of people, which is growing every day. We'll add you to the WhatsApp group so we can have a bit of a chat throughout the week about what's going on and what's coming up on the show, and we can just make the show better. So it's really good to see so many people joining in that little community.
Perfect. Well, guys, enjoy the technological challenges of hotel recordings. Again, back in business next week. Until then, James Bale, a pleasure. Talk to you later.
Cheerio.